Last one.
Last one!
Ah, you don't like it, do ya?
This is it. Game number 11. Video number 11. The final chapter in our 15th anniversary celebration video series. We're tackling February's latest chronicle, Halo Wars 2. Talking about this game, it's going to be a little difficult for me, because personally I had a lot of trouble from an emotional state. But I'll get to that later on. Let me talk about the series in general. It's, we're finally at the last step. Only days before the 16th anniversary, right before Halloween.
What's the update at the control room?
It's been great. It's been a nice little run through of such great Halo games. It almost brings a tear to my eye. No, I'm kidding. Dying every 5 minutes with iron on just made me practically suicidal. But picking my favorite levels, that did make it a lot more fun. And I figured to make this the most appropriate, since we're on the last video and the last game, I decided to play the last level, which is Last Stand. So it's for last.
Let's get to work. Good luck.
Playing through Halo Wars 2 is it felt so different, so foreign. As I've said before, I'm very inexperienced with real-time strategies, so I don't really know how most stuff like that works. However, Halo Wars, the original Halo Wars, seemed to make it a lot easier. It was, an idiot's guide to RTSs. And I felt like in Wars, I knew to an extent what I was doing, what enemies to make, how to establish a defense. I felt like, and how to prioritize resources and stuff. I always felt like I was, not essentially good, but at least moderately learning how to effectively use strategies and resources and defenses for RTS, and how to, strike an offense if necessary.
Stand to, troops. Get in and get comfy.
But everything seemed to change with the sequel.
Inside.
The whole reactor and energy bit back in the first game, you had to build a reactor to increase your tech level,
No one crosses that line.
which could automatically, grant you abilities to build, more powerful buildings, better units, and different things like that. But here in the second game, the reactors, the power are more, gosh, I don't even know how to properly phrase it. It's a consumable, like the resources themselves, like the supply bits themselves. So you have to spend them like currency. And that threw me for a loop right off the beginning, because I had no idea how that worked, and where to add this and that. I know for a lot of people it may be a simple change, but for me, with all the stuff that they put in and changed and made different, it felt like I had to relearn the RTS all over again. And while it does look amazing, and it seems to be generally easier to build units, it's still more difficult to put that plan through. And of course, controlling them is more difficult too. You know, when you were, I don't know what they did with the control scheme, but it's, like I said, jarringly different from the first game. You know, when in the first game you select all units, local units, whatever, with separate buttons, and you could easily navigate through whatever groups you wanted to send. But with this one, you have to double tap the right bumper. You have to go through each one individually. There's only one direction, so if you miss your units, you have to cycle all the way back through again. In cases of Spartans, if they've got a vehicle, for some reason they separate the two, and you have to go through the Spartan in the vehicle first, then the other vehicles in that same group. And it felt like those were time wasters. They sank too much time having to properly organize all that, because there are some situations where you need a group of units somewhere and you need them right now. And in a high octane situation like that, it's frustrating to go through and then find out you selected the wrong units, and then you gotta go through all that over and over again. It's tough. I don't like, one thing that infuriated me was the new supply system. Those little blue glimmer ball things, for lack of a real word or a real phrase, the glimmer ball pictures that they have. They collect instantly, but the units don't automatically pick them up anymore. And on top of that, for some reason, they're very difficult for human units to reach. So you have to send a group of Marines down there, and then you have to press X a bunch of times, scanning over the whole area to make sure that they get everything. That's another drawback for inconvenience. You know, back in the first game, you could send some ground troops over to a little pack of supplies, and they pick up one, and then they take care of the rest in a small area for you. Of course, sometimes they keep searching for it and end up getting themselves killed, but at least they'd still be searching for more supplies to help you out in the long run. But now, even when you're right on top of them, they still won't move. And that is one of the reasons I chose this level, Last Stand, because honestly, I'm not that good at building in this game. It's too confusing. It takes too long, and you know, it's just something I didn't really have the patience for. So I decided to do Last Stand, where you didn't have to worry about building anything. You just got extra units, and you defended the central tower. When Halo Wars 2 was first announced, I couldn't believe it. Since 2008, Ensemble had died, and no one was expecting a sequel to Halo Wars 2. Everybody thought that part of the series was gone forever, and there wouldn't be anything coming back. And especially with an achievement named like Ready for the Sequel, it was a pretty big disappointment to Halo fans. So when they announced it, I was so excited and you know, surprised and delighted to hear about it. But then when I heard about some of the changes that were going to be made, obviously Ensemble wasn't going to be behind the wheel anymore, but
Wake up, troops. Hostile.
the fact that they made it's this is not so much as a sequel as it is a reboot.
Receiving fire from ground
They've
troops.
changed
What's the status?
almost everything about it. You know, of course, the most controversial subject would be that Captain Cutter is,
Make it
you know,
fast,
a
Professor.
good 40 years younger,
Little help over here.
and Professor Anders looks different. I'm not sure if they used Serena's original voice actor for that outro at the beginning of the game. If it was, that was a nice touch, but you know, it's just a completely different game. Everything's completely different. You know, with sequels, you usually try to improve, to make additions, not massive, drastic changes like that. Despite its shortcomings, though, I do find it to be a fun game. It's nice to play, and forcing yourself to adjust like that, it may be a jarring experience, but
Leader power ready.
it could be helpful in the long run. Because you know, change is inevitably gonna come, and it is a good thing. Despite how big the situation might be,
Leader power
and kicking the head like that
all units.
could be, you know, just a thing that us Halo fans would need.
Getting prepped ASAP. Under fire from ground troops.
With that being said, although I do enjoy the game, there do seem to be a handful of flaws that aren't that great. This right here being one of them. When
Power ready.
an enemy squad attacks my units, the garrison ones obviously can't move, but the ones who can, they just stand there. They don't do anything. They don't retreat. They don't attack. They just sit there taking damage.
Take it, squad.
And it's not a good idea.
Inside. On the fire from ground troops.
You know, I'm not a fan of that. I know that wasn't in the original Halo Wars.
All units.
And it was another one of those-
Command, Red Team.
Well, I can't say mistake. I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but
Let's go.
We're under attack.
maybe
from ground
it
troops.
was an oversight.
Got eyes on hostiles. Leather
One
kicks.
positive aspect I can say about this game is obviously the high definition graphics. That's expected, of course, of newer titles, but you know, the units themselves, they're you know, so very detailed and clear, and a lot of times if you look closely enough, you can practically see their faces. You know, I'm going to be honest, there isn't too much for me to say about Halo Wars 2. I haven't had much time to play it recently, and I've only been chipping away at the campaign, you know, a couple levels at a time, piece by piece, which might explain my my hostility, or I guess you could say anxiety towards the new control scheme and
Leader power
the differences in play in the original and the sequel. You know, I could always pick up Halo Wars even after a long time away, and I would know exactly what to do. But with this new game, it felt like I had to start over almost every time. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's the way that the game was made, but I always found it difficult trying to go back after some time. On top of that, I haven't played any multiplayer games. I don't really have, since I don't have any experience with real-time strategies, you know, I'm not really that eager to go out and play a genre that I've never really been immersed with before against people who know very well what they're doing and have been well versed in things like that for years. Although all the varieties you can choose with all the different leaders in multiplayer, it sounds like it would be a great idea, and it looks like it would be fun. It just seems to, you know, put me in a state of nervousness. You know, making that first big step out there in a multiplayer that isn't a shooter or, you know, some other genres that I'm more involved with. It's a big step, and it does feel a little intimidating. So I haven't played multiplayer either. And the Blitz mode, the new thing that they have, the card-based Halo Wars game type, I don't even know what that really is. I have a few Blitz packs. They look like Pokemon cards. So I feel like I'm going back to the 6th grade with those. But having not heard about Blitz and not being able to play the beta, you know, I never really grasped the mechanics of that game type. So even though I've got a big bank of Blitz cards sitting somewhere, I just don't know what to do with them, and I'll have to, you know, spend some one-on-one time with somebody, or, you know, try to learn from people who know. Unfortunately, the opinions for Halo Wars 2 is mostly mixed to negative, and trying to find someone who is willing to be patient and helpful, especially in the areas I visit, it would be you know, it would be a rare find to locate somebody who can do something like that. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take a back seat on this one. You know, I've been talking your ear off for hours and hours at a time now, and while the Halo Wars 2 campaign is enjoyable, it's tough, but it's enjoyable, I just can't really talk more about it because I haven't explored much outside of campaign. In fact, I haven't really explored any outside of campaign, really. So, with that being said, I'll probably chip in at the end, jump in and say some final thoughts and more promotions for stuff that'll be coming up in the future. But yeah, I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy this presentation of Halo Wars 2, and you know, I'm just gonna think about the future of Halo series. Because I personally think, in my mind, I feel that Halo 6 would likely be my last Halo game. It's nothing against 343 Industries. They did a very good job. Of course, there have been, you know, drawbacks, you know, the Master Chief Collection and all that. But upon hearing the wondrous news that they're actually going to return to that game and try to fix as much stuff as they can, it shows again how dedicated they are to making things right. So, of course, kudos and props to 343 Industries, you know, for taking that extra time out to make things right and to help mend fences and you know, lick wounds, so to speak. But yeah, I think after Halo Wars 2, Halo 6 is probably going to be my last one because as much as I enjoy the series, you know, I feel it's time to move on. Halo has always been a huge part of my life, to the point where it gets almost too big. And there are so many other games and genres and systems out there to explore. And it just seems like an ideal opportunity to try something new, as they say, out there in the real world. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and let you watch the rest of the video. I'll pop in at the end to say some goodbyes, but I hope you guys enjoy.
Sir, we won't be able to hold them off indefinitely.
Professor, time's running out.
Communications array is ready, Captain. You said it yourself. Can't leave until the Banished are gone. I found something down here that'll help.
Whatever it is, it better work, Professor.
All in a day's work. Get you fixed up.
Being pounded by enemy artillery!
I shall get it done. I will obliterate them.
Someone needs to take out that artillery! Loud and clear, Control. I predict high enemy casualties, sir. I've been targeted by artillery. Need an assist! Copy. Over. I'm receiving fire from ground troops. I think we're locked down.
Contacts. Bad guy bites the dust.
Captain, he's back.
Put him through.
You think you can stand against me? I, who defied the Covenant itself?
Here's your notice, Atriox. The Ark is our home now, and it's under our protection. Cut it, Isco. I've heard enough.
Captain, I didn't think you could make him any madder, but...
Leader power ready.
Got them on the ropes, Captain. But it's only a matter of time before they send more.
Professor, what's the plan?
I've gained control of the Halo's gravity anchors, Captain. Get our troops clear and get ready.
All units.
Done. We're under attack from ground troops.
I need support! Get it in my...
Let's see what they've got. Marines being targeted by a scarab. Only me standing. What?
I have eyes on enemy forces.
Anyone get that?
Enemy Scarab is out of the way.
It'll be like they never existed. Under fire from ground troops. They ain't getting up from that.
Brought down an enemy Scarab. Protect the Professor. She needs time to disarm the Halo.
It's done. Marines being
All units. Turret upgraded.
We're getting shelled down here.
Whatever you're gonna do it now.
Did anyone get this ugly?
Destroyed an enemy scarab. Leader power ready.
I wanted to touch on one more thing for the ending. By the way, that is just a beautiful shot right there of the halo over the arc. But this particular tactic by Anders was, admittedly very genius. I thought it was so cool to see that happen on the battlefield. I can't help but wonder what the Marines were thinking when all of their enemies got surrounded by a force field and was just yanked right out of the sky. It's also a smart callback to what happened in the anniversary terminals from Halo CE. They did the same thing in the terminals there. When 343 Guilty Spark was so bored, sitting around having nothing to do in Halo, he would do the same thing. He would lift sections of the Halo right out of the ground, just so he can rebuild and repair them. And I think that was a really neat idea to call back to that, to make sure that, that the fans are paying attention.
I hope this works.
And there they go, just off into the sky. Oh man. And just like that, the threat is over for the time being.
It's done. Professor Anders, we are on our way. Get to the rendezvous.
But one thing I do want to say is that
With all due respect,
I've
Spark,
tacked on the secret ending at the post-credits ending after Halo Wars, and
don't worry, Captain. As soon as I'm back to the
I'll
get that beacon
it got me pretty excited when I first saw it. In fact, I still kind of get excited every time I see it. But I'm not going to say anything during that cutscene because I want to make sure people see it
The other teams are clear.
and make sure that they notice what's going on.
Spare to fire is 5 minutes.
Because once I'll just let it play by itself. Because once you see what happens,
Aye, Captain.
I swear, you are gonna love it, or hate it. You are gonna react.
What's happening? Why did we drop out of slip space? Good job, Ellen. We may have been safer on the Ark.
For 15 years, we've fought together. With fearless leaders against incredible foes. We've explored terrifying worlds and overcome impossible odds. We've built powerful friendships and and forged unbreakable bonds. But this is only the first 15 years. I think we're just getting started. Here's to 15 years of Halo.